Hi, this is John Clayton, former KNX radio personality, world traveler, and generally inquisitive fellow. John Cruikshank is aiming to be an LA County Supervisor for the 4th District. He's got a lot of clever ideas, as you'll hear in a chat that we had. Take a listen at the sound of the beep.
In the election for the Los Angeles County Supervisor 4th District race for a new face, voters will see a young man called John Cruikshank. What are the benefits, John, for each voter to know about your youthful expertise?
Well, I appreciate the youthful comment. That certainly is kind of you. I think it's critical that people know who I am in regards to my background here in Los Angeles County. I'm a third-generation Los Angeles County resident. I grew up in the city of El Segundo and went to high school there, went to college at USC, and kind of migrated south through some of the South Bay cities and ended up living in San Pedro and then Rancho Palos Verdes. In Rancho Palos Verdes, I raised our one child, Sean. I've been married to my wife, Jennifer, for 30 years now, and it's a wonderfully small but great family.
Okay.
And while I've been in Rancho Palos Verdes and with raising my son, I had the opportunity to be involved with youth sports, AYSO, and I think it's always great to be a part of a community before you start to get into politics. As I was in Rancho Palos Verdes since 2005, I had a great chance to meet some of the city council members. They encouraged me to apply and be on the Rancho Palos Verdes Planning Commission, which I was for 4 years. As a civil engineer professionally, and then on the Rancho Palos Verdes Planning Commission, I really found that I enjoyed problem solving for the community. And with that, I decided that I would run for city council, which I was successful in 2017. And now I'm running for Los Angeles County Supervisor in the 4th District.
That's wonderful. Going back to what you just said, when you were on the Planning Commission, what sort of things did that give you in terms of experience? I mean, so much of an election and a campaign is planning. So being on the Planning Commission must have been a great experience for you.
It's a great experience. The city of Rancho Palos Verdes is fairly world-renowned for its planning commissions.
World-renowned?
They are, actually. A
Wow.
lot of people that are studying planning and become planners do look at a city like Rancho Palos Verdes because we are a peninsula, and the one thing that's most valued to most of the homeowners there, and there's roughly 12,000 or so residential units in our city, are the views. And our Planning Commission spends a lot of time on what we have as the View Preservation Ordinance, making sure that a new house doesn't necessarily block the views of an existing house. And so we find ways where neighbors can get along with each other, but to build their homes so they don't intrude upon views, and also neighborhood compatibility. So, you know, the look and feel of our city stays very consistent from neighborhood to neighborhood. And there's 7 members in our Planning Commission, and it's a really great opportunity to understand the city of Rancho Palos Verdes.
You know, John, another aspect of this campaign is economic empowerment. And it's certainly one of the, hot button issues in the election. Why is it such a vital and an important situation and a matter?
So we went through a pandemic in 2020.
Right.
And I'm a business owner, and at that time in 2020, we were told by many of our elected officials to shut down what they called non-essential businesses. And when I heard the phrase non-essential, I realized that's not right. Like, that doesn't feel right to me, because every business in my mind is essential.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, every person that's in those businesses rely on that for their paycheck and to feed their family. And so that really hit me the wrong way. And then as we started having lockdowns and vaccine mandates and having to wear masks, and the control of the government, certainly here in Los Angeles County, was very strict. And so the businesses that were affected by being closed down were hurt tremendously. We lost a lot of businesses. And a lot of people that would normally invest in Los Angeles County have left the county and have left the state, because they realize that our current elected officials don't necessarily understand business. They've never signed the front of a paycheck.
Wait a minute, they don't understand business?
Well, that's the thing.
Wow.
Right, and so you have 5 county board of supervisors, and they control an area that has 10 million residents, and you can only imagine how many businesses there are. And all five, none of them have actually run a business on their own. And I think that's a real shame for our residents and our businesses. That
John, you would think that something like that was mandatory to have business experience.
Well, at very least, if they don't have business experience, they would do the things necessary to understand business better. But unfortunately, the actions they take are very anti-free market. And so that type of mentality has really hurt our businesses, and we rely on our businesses for everything. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm running for office, because I truly believe, like you said, we should have at least one person that's an advocate for our businesses.
So, John, the fact that you run your own business, that must be a tremendous advantage to you and for you. Gosh, that's self-evident. You know what the problems are.
I mean, it's a tremendous benefit. And when I'm talking to people on the campaign trail, and many of those people that I talk to are people that own apartment buildings, they run small businesses. And when I mention to them that I've run my own company since 1996, and it's a small business, and I understand the pain of the taxes we pay and the rules and regulations that we have to follow, and that we just want to have our businesses be able to thrive, and right now they're having trouble just surviving. And so I think that there's a real connection that I have with people that are business owners in the community. And I think that people are realizing that there's an opportunity to make a real change in LA County, and then supporting our businesses again.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that must also give you the experience of knowing what works and what doesn't work.
I can tell you a lot of things that don't work. And some of the things that I know don't work are some of these rent control issues. Minimum wage is something else that doesn't work. We have an amazing amount of inflation now, and inflation hurts everyone, of course, but it hurts even the poorest among us the most, because these are things that we rely on, like our food and our medicine,
right,
and fuel for our cars. And so I want to fight for all of those people. And so I feel that inflation is one of those items that can be solved, but it cannot be solved without having the free market involved with that solution.
You know, another thing on the menu, as it were, in this election is public safety. And just the word public safety says what it is. But why is that so important to voters in the 4th District?
Well, so the 4th District geographically is the southeast part of Los Angeles County, and so it abuts the Orange County border, and it starts up in the city of Whittier, where you have a lot of hillside and trails and open area, and then it goes all the way down to Long Beach and over to the Palos Verdes Peninsula, where I live, and then up to Torrance. And so if you look at that type of geography, you realize that there's two issues that are really prevalent. First, fire safety. And I know with public safety, people always think about our police officers and our sheriff, and they certainly should be thinking about that. But it's also important that we have fire safety. There's a number of insurance companies right now that are raising their rates to the point where people on fixed income, senior citizens, are no longer able to afford home insurance. And so that, and our state keeps tinkering with that. And so what's happening is our insurance companies are pulling out, or they're raising the rates to the point where we're going to have, like I said, less insurance availability, higher rates, and that hurts us. And that all revolves around public safety, because the fire safety is something that dictates that. That's why the insurance rates are so high. So we want to make sure that our residential zones are safe, and fire safe, certainly. In terms of the sheriffs and police departments, unfortunately our Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, they're down 1,200 officers now.
They're down what?
1,200 officers.
Oh my goodness.
Right, and the reason that they're down is that the officers are either retiring early, or they're leaving to go to other police forces where they're giving them something better, a better place to work, more support from their elected officials. And so that puts us all in jeopardy. All 32 cities of the 4th District are in jeopardy, because we can't have crime. And what you have now is the sheriffs are working double time, so they're tired, and we're paying them more because you got to pay them time and a half and double time. So it's a lose-lose for everyone. Our Board of Supervisors, we have to start supporting our Sheriff's Department, and we have to make sure that we build those numbers back up to full sheriff's police force.
But John, how on earth did we get in that situation where there's so many? I mean, that's terrible. Is that a past administration or something?
No, it's the current Board of Supervisors. Every 2 years we have an opportunity to vote to change part of those. But most of them that are there now have supported defunding the police.
Wait a minute, defunding?
Defunding the police. Right.
Oh.
And so because of that lack of funding for the police, they want to pull funding away and they want to support criminals and try to help the criminals more than to help the victims. And it's this whole mentality we have with our current district attorney as well, George Gascon. He wants to support our criminals. He's not there to support the victims. And he doesn't even allow the officers to be there to testify when they're up for probation. And so right now, that's part of the election as well that's coming up. I tell people that I'm for anyone but the current district attorney, George Gascon. Yeah, so that's how we got ourselves into this situation.
John, that's absolutely terrible. You know, another major thing, and I see this, you know, occasionally when I go downtown Los Angeles, and that is the homeless situation. I mean, that's been on the front pages for a long time now. How do we get to this homeless situation? And is there in your mind a plan that really works to reduce that situation?
I don't think that the current Board of Supervisors have a plan to reduce that situation. As you noted, it's been growing by large numbers every year.
Terrible.
Right, and so the current Board of Supervisors, they have to own the 70 or 80 or 90,000 people that live on our streets, which...
Wait a minute, how many?
There could be up to 80 or 90,000 people living on the streets of LA County.
Oh.
Right, so you're filling up a whole Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum with homeless people that are living out in the cold every night. And many of those people, so going back to your question about solutions, many of those people that are living on the streets have mental illnesses. And the way that we're currently helping those people is to give them medicine and let them go live back on the street. And I don't agree with that solution. I believe that we should have conservatorships where we're forcing people that are mentally ill to be in hospitals with real doctors, in their own safety. They're safe, we're safe, so they can get to the point where they can think rationally. When you just let them back on the street, they're not thinking rationally. So they have this housing first in California, and so Los Angeles County has adopted housing first. So in other words, you can't do anything for them, for a homeless person, until you actually put a roof over their head. And when they put the roof over the head, they don't ask anything of them. They don't ask them to get treatment, to do something, to have a skill, to be able to get back off the street. They can literally just live in a house forever. And that's not a solution. That's not a sustainable solution. All that does is attract more people from all over the world to come live in Los Angeles County for free at the taxpayer's expense. And I'm sorry, but I know our current politicians don't have the backbone to be able to make the decisions that are required to solve this problem, and that's the problem.
So you're basically saying there doesn't seem to be any plan to deal with this situation.
There really isn't. Every year we have our homeless counts. Every year they say we've got this many people into housing, and then every year they do the counts again, and it's always a higher number. So to me, that's not a solution. I've heard the term industrial homeless complex. I feel like that's all it is just basically we're throwing billions of taxpayer dollar at agencies and nonprofit organizations that are squandering our tax dollar.
Oh, John, that's
it's not
terrible.
Solving it.
You know, one of the factors of any election is voting. And I wonder, what sort of thoughts do you have about how to get people to actually go out and vote? It's all very well saying, oh, I'm a voter, I'm going to vote. But getting people to the voting place, that's quite a challenge.
Right, and the state of California and other states have done pretty much everything humanly possible to give everyone the opportunity to vote. So in this particular election, because it's a presidential primary, we typically would vote in June, but they've pushed the primary to March. So March 5th is the day we go out and vote. That's the vote election day. But we actually start voting 30 days before that. So February 5th is where we start getting ballots, and we can start voting, and we can drop off our ballots. And there's even some polling places open. So there should be no excuse for someone not going out and voting. Now, yes, there's a large Democratic Party. There's a decent-sized Republican Party. There's no party preference, independents. But the biggest party in California is the party of apathy. And
wait a minute, the party of apathy?
party of apathy.
Oh, John.
People have given
that's
up.
terrible.
It is terrible. And I think people feel like, what is the point of voting? And there's many different reasons to why that is. Some people say they don't think that the way in which the ballots are counted at the election office are up and that there's cheating going on. And some people will say, I just don't think my vote counts. And I hear that frustration all the time. As a supervisor, I'll have the ability to put some sunshine on the election office so that we make sure that we have people that are at those ballot boxes, monitoring when they're counting. People need to feel confident in our voting system. And if they don't feel confident in the voting system, they're not going to vote. And that's the most important thing to our democracy is the freedom to vote.
Absolutely. You know, John, you seem to me to be a very well put together, well thought out. You've got a lot of plans and a lot of ideas, which raises the question, what was it that caused you to get into this race? And it is a race, I guess.
It's certainly a race. And going back to just my love of Los Angeles County, I grew up here. A lot of people have left California. I think the numbers are more than 1 million people over the last 3 or 4 years. And I understand why people have left. It's very frustrating for a myriad of reasons, whether it's the crime or just having to deal with the traffic or the homelessness. But at the end of the day, Americans aren't quitters, right? I mean, from the founding of our country when we dumped tea into the harbor, Americans believe in fighting for what they believe in.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's what I felt in me, that I knew that I had 1 more year left as a city council member in Rancho Palos Verdes, and I realized I had more to give. And I think that when anyone runs for office, it shouldn't be about what your income is, but rather what your outcome is. And I think that too many of our politicians don't worry about what the outcome is. They only just worry about themselves. And that's what I feel about the current Board of Supervisors, that they don't have the ability to solve problems. I feel like they're there for themselves, and we need a change. And we can change LA County, and for everyone, not just one party or another, but for everyone. I care about Los Angeles County. I love Rancho Palos Verdes, and I want to stay here the rest of my life. I'm not going to quit.
Sounds to me like you have a real passion for what you do.
I do. Well, it sounds like you do too. You're here interviewing me today, and I know you've been here many years, and you're also a Rancho Palos Verdes resident,
Absolutely.
Which is awesome.
We've been here in PV for, 40 years. So, yeah, we've seen it, yeah. John, another fact that is kind of, the elephant in the room, as they say, but in the ballot, there's also someone from the Han dynasty. She's been there, I believe, since 2016. And some might say, well, with a name like that and that sort of history, might be, a bit intimidating. So does it take a lot of courage to put forth your ideas against this particular person?
I'll put my ideas against the current incumbent any time. But you're right. There was, when I did file initially, because she does have another term potentially left if she does win re-election, I did have some hesitancy only because I knew that I would be sacrificing a lot because I run a business and I have people that rely on me to focus on the business. And of course my family relies on me to make money to pay our bills as well. So, I care about the people that work with me in my company. Of course, I love and care about my family. And so, but then I realized that I have an opportunity with my background and with my problem-solving abilities to do something for Los Angeles County, and I feel that as a supervisor, that was the role that I'm meant to be in. And I think that there was nothing stopping me once I realized that I'm doing this for Los Angeles County. It's a huge uphill battle. My father's name is not on all the buildings in Los Angeles like my opponent is, and now we have another opponent that was a former sheriff as well. So they have a lot of name identification, but I have a really great opportunity.
Well, it seems to me, John, that you're putting forward a lot of really great ideas, and you're a thinking man. And it's also, to me, again, most important that you have a background in business, you understand it, and you know it. And again, I'm repeating myself, but you know what works and you know what doesn't work.
And I guess I also know that if you try something and it doesn't work, it's okay to just stop doing it. And I think that's part of the problem with many politicians, not just my opponents. But if something isn't working, like Housing First, or neglecting our sheriff's department and not giving them the proper resources to build back up to the proper number of people and officers, you need to stop doing that. It's not working. And they haven't stopped. And so I think problem solving involves knowing when you're wrong and knowing when to change course. And so I always talk about these big problems we have that are best broken into smaller problems. And you solve the smaller problems, and eventually you've solved the big problem.
Kind of an obvious question, but new ideas, that's such a cliche. But why are new ideas important, especially in this race?
Right now, you've got a board of supervisors that are 5 people that are beholden to partisan politics. They are career politicians, and their thought process when it comes to problem solving is, and the old tired way of doing things is clearly failed, and it's getting worse. And so we need new solutions. In my city of Rancho Palos Verdes, we try to bring in experts. We're a contract city, so we bring in experts to help us with problems. We listen to them, we try new things, and some of the things that are maybe old, we don't just rubber stamp them, we revisit them.
And you bring that expertise into play as a supervisor.
Well, that's right. I mean, there's so many departments within Los Angeles County, and just because a department or the CEO or that have always done things that way, that doesn't mean that in 2024 it shouldn't be revisited and we shouldn't have an opportunity to look at how things are. There's so many problems out there and so many opportunities to do things for our residents of LA County, and I think we owe it to them to look at things fresh.
But isn't that a sort of comment on life? Oh, we couldn't do that because it hasn't been ever done before. But I think if someone comes in and gives a lot of new ideas like you do, there's going to be, oh no, we couldn't do that. That's never been done before. And it's really refreshing, John, to talk to you and have you say these things that, at least to me, are fresh ideas.
And what's funny is there's some ideas from the past that we probably should reintroduce. There's things that have worked, we've rejected them, it's not working, and we should bring them back. So traditionally I'm a conservative, and conservatives are, by definition of that name, supposed to conserve what we have. But in this case, I don't want to conserve what we're currently doing. What we're currently doing isn't working. We're spending more money, we're wasting more money for the most part. We don't have systems in place. There's no accountability on what's happening. Crime is getting worse. Homelessness is getting worse. Our businesses are hurting. People are leaving Los Angeles County. The only reason people would ever leave Los Angeles County is because of our politicians at this point. And so even though I'm a conservative, I don't necessarily want to conserve what we have.
Don't apologize for being a conservative, John.
I don't, but my point is that I don't want to conserve what we have now. I want to conserve what makes America great, and what makes America great is our Constitution, the melting pot of people that learn to be an American in terms of, just understanding our Constitution, understanding to respect our neighbors. Let's look after each other more. There's so much partisanship out there. Partisanship is destroying California, and it's destroying this country. And we need to just start to love our neighbors again and start to realize that neighborhoods were great, and neighborhoods aren't so great anymore, but they are great in many cities. And I think the Board of Supervisors has an opportunity to not look at all 88 cities as a one-size-fits-all, but to allow all 88 cities to thrive in their own individuality.
I've got to just add a little personal note here. I'm thrilled to be an American. I've been to 51 countries around the world. And John, this is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful country. Yeah. You've mentioned some of the issues and problems that continue to occur in Los Angeles. And history, John, is important because it helps us understand the past and where we are today. Why? I'm sure there are voters who say, how on earth did we get to where we are?
We got to where we are because we've stopped standing up for ourselves. We've allowed one-party rule in the state of California, and we've allowed us that have different voices from that one party to be intimidated. And we all need to not be afraid to speak up.
Amen.
That's where we went wrong, is that we used to walk to school. We used to go out in the morning and come back at dinner time, and our parents didn't worry about us every single second. And yes, we got hurt, but we had a heck of a lot of fun, and we all came back somewhat in one piece. And now we're at the point where you can't allow your kids to walk to school anymore. You can't.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah,
that's terrible.
It is terrible. We need to be trusting again. We need to bring community back again. We need to look after each other more. And we've stopped doing that. We can't rely on the government. The government should only be there to do the minimum amount of things that we need, like building roads that connect our cities, or making sure that our beaches are clean, or the military, or other things that we as individuals can't do. But we need to all be individuals again, and we need to speak our minds. And we as elected officials need to listen to people more. If you watch a Board of Supervisors meeting, they're not paying attention to people talking. They don't welcome and invite people to speak their mind. You feel intimidated. The press is very intimidating. They continue to support the incumbents because that's where their power is. Companies are afraid. Fellow elected officials are afraid to speak out. And I'm not afraid to speak out. Like, a lot of people tell me, well, I should talk more forcefully during debates or during discussions. And I might be soft-spoken, but I've never backed down from stating how I believe in something. And many times the things that I say I believe in, I didn't just start from that belief. I go and listen to people and talk to people and find the best solution for the people that I represent. It's not all about John.
John, but isn't part of effective, dynamic government, isn't part of it listening?
No, it's the most essential thing there is to effective government is listening. If you're not listening, then you're not learning. And if you're not learning, how are you possibly going to have the best solutions? You're going to have one solution that's dictated to you through a lobbyist or through a political party or through that podcast that you watch every day, and you're not hearing everything else. And just because someone is in a different political party or lives in a different city or they look different than you, that doesn't mean that they don't have some great ideas and solutions. Right. And tribalism is destroying us. Like, who cares about our skin color and our gender and our sexual preference, right?
Amen.
Everything I can in regards to tribalism. We cannot have quotas. We can't be allowing people to get jobs because of who they look like. It's crazy, and we need to end all that.
You know, John, one of the things about politics is politics promises a lot of stuff, and then once the person is elected, oh, wait a minute, did I really promise that? I'm not sure. No, maybe I didn't. So the question is, would things be better under the leadership, stressing the word leadership, would they be better with the leadership for John Cruikshank for LA Supervisor?
Well, in Los Angeles County, there's the 115,000 employees that we talked about earlier. And there's a lot of departments, and these departments, probably a lot of great people that live or work in those departments, of course. And, you know, I don't want to opine on that in regards to, you know, whether they're good or bad. Most of them are probably amazing. But I think that they get their direction from the Board of Supervisors. And that direction is either treat the residents and the taxpayers with respect or not. And so if you ask people in regards to the last time they went to the county to get some type of service, whether it's a marriage license or trying to process a building permit for an important development, you're going to hear people that don't really remember the greatest experience. And in our city of Rancho Palos Verdes, we have, it starts from the top really, we have an amazing city manager who makes it clear to his team of of managers and department heads that the people that come in, these are taxpayers, these are residents, and these are our customers. And that's how the county should be treating everyone that comes in to do business with the county, is that they're customers and they are all to be treated with not only respect, but understand and respect their time. I'm a civil engineer. My business revolves around property development. I work with people that risk everything to have projects built in Los Angeles County. I work with architects. And time is always of the essence with this because they're paying for loans and that. And so one of the things I have told my world of architects and engineers and contractors is that let's look into what's going on with this permit process. Why does LA County take so long? Why is a place like Rancho Palos Verdes, when they get a resident contacting them either by phone or by email that they've got an issue, whether it's trimming a tree or a sidewalk's buckled, why is it that our city staff can get back to them that same day and have a repair crew out there that same week? Where you contact LA County and God knows how long it takes and who knows if it's ever repaired. I know when I lived in Los Angeles, that tree trimming repair was at least 1 to 2 years out. I know. So it's not that the people that work in government don't have the ability to do their job quickly and with respect. It's that they're not given that direction by the leadership, which is in this case the Board of Supervisors, and that leadership demanding that the CEO of the county, a lot of people probably don't even know there is a CEO of LA County, but this person oversees all these departments, and that person needs to be held up to the standards of treating everyone with respect and dignity.
John, these delays you talk about, why on earth is that taking so long? Where does the responsibility lie for that terrible time lag?
If you have layers of bureaucracy and you don't know whose department it is, and you have such a big area like LA County, you don't define those, or you don't have people that just say, look, I get it that that particular problem might be outside of the county's jurisdiction, but honestly, who cares about that? Like, we are all part of LA County. And so if a city has jurisdiction over something and it's not necessarily LA County, at least the LA County department or person that's in charge can follow through and make sure it's going to get done. And so part of the problem with when you have a big government is that there's a lot of, hey, that's her department or his department, and nothing ever gets done. That we have to clear up, and there has to be some type of hotline or something where if people are contacting my office at the 4th District and I hear that they tried to contact us a week ago and it's still not getting resolved, I'm going to go find out what's going on and why this is taking so long and hear what's happening. And there could be some very legitimate reasons why things don't happen fast, but let's get rid of all the roadblocks we can, just like we have in my city, and let's get the right people involved to fix these problems.
But where does the Board of Supervisors fit in all this?
Well, the Board of Supervisors are the representatives. You have 10 million residents, and each supervisor represents 2 million people. And in the 4th District, there's 32 cities of the 88 in LA County, and the buck stops with the Board of Supervisors. And so when a resident contacts any of the supervisors, they should feel like they're talking to a real person, that they're being listened to, and that their problem's going to get resolved. And some problems are complex. I'm not saying you could just resolve something tomorrow, but there's many problems that could just be solved tomorrow. And I'm one of those people that says, hey, if you can solve it tomorrow instead of waiting, let's just solve it tomorrow. Let's do what we can to solve problems quickly. There's so many things that you can do in LA County to make our lives better. And anyone that's traveled outside of LA County, you go to Texas, Arizona, Nevada, the infrastructure is just so much nicer and things just feel cleaner and better. Why should we have what we have here in LA County? Our residents and our taxpayers and our businesses should not be putting up with it. And the way that they say, I'm not putting up with it anymore, is to start voting in different people like me.
Okay. Another big thing on the election, John, and I know you feel strongly about this, is infrastructure.
I do.
You look at some of the roads in this city, is that falling under the Board of Supervisors? Why are they so terrible?
Well, this goes back to the bureaucracy of whose responsibility is a road and whose responsibility is that beach or that park. And many cities, like our city, we have our own parks, we have our own roads, and we make sure that we have a maintenance schedule to fix the roads, to make sure that every resident enjoys great roads throughout our city, and same with our parks. And there's county portions of our city that are under county jurisdiction, but many times we'll just go ahead and take care of it. So we want to empower the cities to be able to handle and do things without having to be handcuffed, to have to call someone to get the permission to go clean something up. So that's the first thing. And once again, we have 32 cities in the 4th District, and I guarantee all 32 of those cities want to have the greatest city possible for their residents. So what can LA County do to maybe allow them to take care of their parks and their roads? And maybe does everything need to always be just a county road? Like, it's not about power, it's about functionality. We know that our traffic is getting worse, but instead of doing something about our roads, we continually have road diets because that's a political hot button issue, and people can say, I created more bike lanes. Well, honestly, a lot of bike lanes aren't warranted. And you see some of these locations where they've narrowed down to 1 lane. We had 2 lanes, it was working, now it's 1 lane and it doesn't work. And you don't see bikers there. Why are we doing this? And why are we continually trying to force people onto buses and trains because Metro says so and because we have all this sales tax dollars when people want to drive their cars? There's nothing that says American freedom more than the automobile. And I don't know why we continually want to push the automobile away. They can't even use pollution as an excuse anymore because we have electric vehicles. Now, when electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles become more cost effective, then people will adopt them more. But that's why people haven't adopted them. And they're not really practical because of the charge and finding charging stations and that. Why not allow people to kind of have what they want? Less traffic, the type of cars they want. Why are we banning fossil fuels right now when we don't have a viable alternative? Absolutely. These are the sort of things that the Board of Supervisors have power over. And we need to allow the free market to work more and the free economy to work more.
John, that's been absolutely fascinating listening to you. So to close out our conversation, John Cruikshank, what do you have for those in our audience, and especially the voters? What words do you have for what's ahead in 2024?
Well, I would say that it all starts with the people that are listening in, that we really need to have people participate in the election. If we don't do that, then we continually have the same people elected over and over again because people will say, well, what's the point of voting? Honestly, I'll be in the top 2 if I get 25 to 30% of the vote. If I'm in the top 2, I'll have the ability to have 8 more months of campaigning and name recognition and ID. I'll be able to show how there's real solutions out there to problems. They can be solved. We don't have to just complain about things. We can talk about solutions like we did today. And 2024 could be an amazing year for us. We could hopefully have a change in president. We could have a change in many of the elected officials that had their thumb on us for so many years, and our businesses and our families. And we could start to look for better days ahead in Los Angeles County and in California. We need to end one-party rule, and I don't care what state it's in. We need to have a robust discussion among everyone, not just one party. And so I think there's a real opportunity for people to start taking power back for themselves, start speaking up for themselves again. Don't be afraid to say what you mean. And I say lots of things that are probably not agreeable to most, and they're not always right. Like, people will refute what I say, and I'll correct myself. So don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to be yourself anymore. I think we all need to be empowered. We need to fight for what we have here. What we have in Los Angeles County is amazing, and I'm here to fight for it. So that's what's ahead.
So you're a real human being.
I like to think of myself as that, John. I appreciate you saying that. We need to be humans again, and we need to fight for our beliefs and values.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's super that you called. Until next time, stay safe. I'm John Clayton.